The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant. Madame Mathilde Loisel was a charming young woman who had always dreamt of a life far beyond her humble means. Though she was married to a kind, modest clerk in the Ministry of Education, she often felt discontent with her life. Her heart yearned for luxury, finery, and the kind of wealth that would place her among the upper echelons of Parisian society. Mathilde often imagined herself adorned in exquisite gowns, glittering with jewels, and attending lavish soirees where she would be admired and envied. But her reality was starkly different. She lived in a small cramped apartment, dressed in simple clothing, and managed household chores. This life, devoid of the beauty and grandeur she craved, made her deeply unhappy. One evening, her husband, Monsieur Loisel, returned home with a triumphant smile. He handed her an envelope which she eagerly tore open. "Look, Mathilde, it's an invitation to a grand ball at the ministry," he exclaimed, beaming with excitement. "It's a rare opportunity for you to mingle with the high society. You'll finally have your chance to shine." But instead of joy, Mathilde's face fell. She tossed the invitation onto the table with disdain. "What am I to do with this? What will I wear?" she cried, her voice tinged with frustration. "I have no gown, no jewels. How can I possibly attend such a grand affair looking like this?" Her husband, who had hoped the invitation would make her happy, was taken aback. "But Mathilde," he said, "I saved money to buy you a new dress. How much do you think you'll need?" Mathilde thought for a moment. "I don't know. 400 francs, perhaps." Monsieur Loisel paled at the figure. That was the exact sum he had been saving for a hunting trip with his friends. However, seeing the anguish in his wife's eye, he agreed to give her the money. With the 400 francs, Mathilde purchased a beautiful dress, but a discontent soon resurfaced. "I have no jewelry to wear with it," she lamented, pacing the room. "I look like a beggar, even with this dress." Her husband suggested she visit her wealthy friend, Madame Jean Frostier, and borrow some jewelry for the occasion. Though Mathilde felt ashamed to admit her lack of adornments, she agreed. The next day, she went to Jean's luxurious home and explained her plight. Jean, generous and kind, opened her jewelry box and presented Mathilde with an array of beautiful necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. After much deliberation, Mathilde's eye fell upon a stunning diamond necklace nestled in the box. It was a work of art, shimmering and dazzling under the light. "May I borrow this one?" Mathilde asked, her voice breathless with anticipation. "Of course," Jean replied with a warm smile. "Wear it as long as you like." The night of the ball arrived, and Mathilde was radiant. Clad in her elegant gown and adorned with the diamond necklace, she felt transformed. As she entered the grand hall, heads turned and the whispers of admiration followed her. She danced with dignitaries, conversed with important men, and for the first time in her life, felt like she truly belonged among the elite. It was a dream come true. The evening passed in a whirlwind of joy and excitement, and as the ball drew to a close, Mathilde reluctantly left the grandeur behind. She and her husband, exhausted but exhilarated, returned home in the early hours of the morning. As they entered their modest apartment, Mathilde stood in front of the mirror to admire herself one last time before removing her gown and the jewelry. But then, a gasp escaped her lips. The necklace was gone. Panic set in. Mathilde frantically searched through her dress, the apartment, and the streets where they had walked, but the necklace was nowhere to be found. Overcome with dread, she turned to her husband. "It's gone. The necklace. It's lost." Monsieur Loisel, though equally horrified, remained calm. "We must retrace our steps," he said. "Perhaps someone found it." They scoured the streets and questioned the cab drivers and visited the police, but no one had seen the necklace. Days passed, and their efforts were in vain. Realizing that the necklace was truly lost, they were left with no choice but to replace it. Mathilde visited numerous jewelers, searching for a replica of Jean's necklace. Finally, they found one identical to it, but the price was astronomical, 36,000 francs. It was an amount far beyond their means, yet they had no other option. Monsieur Loisel borrowed money from every lender he could find. He signed promissory notes, mortgaged their modest possessions, and plunged themselves into a debt that would take years to repay. With a heavy heart, Mathilde purchased the replacement necklace and returned it to Jean, who noticed nothing amiss. From that day forward, Mathilde and her husband's lives changed drastically. They dismissed their maids and moved to a smaller apartment to save money. Mathilde took on the heavy work of the household, washing dishes, scrubbing floors, and carrying water from the street. Her hands, once delicate, became rough and calloused. Her beauty faded as years of toil and hardship wore her down. Monsieur Loisel, too, worked tirelessly, taking on extra jobs and late hours to pay off the debt. The carefree man he had once been was now burdened with exhaustion and responsibility. For 10 long years, the couple lived in poverty, scraping by to repay the borrowed money. Mathilde, once a woman of dreams and desires, had become hardened and worn by her difficult life. The days of luxury and elegance were long behind her. One Sunday, as Mathilde was walking through the streets of Paris, she happened to see Madame Frostier. Jean was still as youthful and radiant as ever, untouched by the passage of time. Mathilde, who had aged beyond her years, hesitated for a moment before approaching her old friend. "Jean," she said hesitantly. Madame Forestier looked at her in surprise, struggling to recognize the haggard woman before her. "Mathilde, is that really you?" "Yes, it's me," Mathilde replied, her voice filled with weariness. "I've had a difficult life these past 10 years, and all because of you." "Because of me?" Jean asked, confused. Mathilde sighed. "Do you remember that diamond necklace I borrowed from you for the ball?" "Yes, of course." "Well, I lost it," Mathilde confessed. Tears welled in her eyes. "My husband and I spent 10 years paying for a replacement. We've been living in poverty because of it." Jean stared at her in shock, then took Mathilde's hands in hers. "Oh, Mathilde," she said softly, "you didn't need to do that. The necklace I lent you was a fake. It was worth no more than 500 francs. Mathilde stood frozen, her mind reeling, the crushing weight of her sacrifice, her years of suffering, all for nothing. The necklace, the symbol of the life she had longed for, had been a mere illusion. The realization hit her like a thunderclap, and she staggered under the enormity of what she had endured for the sake of a false treasure. Yet, even as the truth settled over her, Mathilde said nothing. The damage was done, and there was no undoing the years she had lost. She had become a different woman, one who had learned the hard way that appearances like the glittering necklace could be deceiving, and so she walked away, not with the triumphant grace she had once longed for, but with the quiet dignity of one who had borne her burden and emerged not victorious but unbroken.